Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome
Salut,
to Two
comment ça
Person.
va?
What?
Salut, comment ça va? That
What is
means
that?
hi, how are you in French
Yeah.
for our 3 French listeners as of this
Oh,
recording.
3 French listeners? Who do you know in France?
I have no idea, but
Mm,
now we are an internationally renowned podcast. I think that's what that means, right?
yeah, I think that's exactly what that means. I think we just quit. We did it. We win.
But hey, it only took us
By the
3
way, welcome
episodes.
to Two Person Echo
Yeah,
Chamber.
welcome to Two
Before
Person
I
Echo
was
Chamber.
very rudely interrupted by this guy who's very excited about France. I'm John.
I'm Mitch.
And we miss you. We missed you all week.
We did miss
I
you
thought
all
about
week.
you. How are you guys doing? Answer me.
So we had a pretty action-packed week.
Yeah, it was crazy.
If for those of our listeners who remember, John had to officiate our friend's wedding this past Saturday.
Yep.
And from my perspective, I think he did a great job.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
It was a nice night. It was 50 people, all masked.
Yeah.
And it was a nice day outside too, so they were able to open up doors. You could step outside, get a breath of fresh air, all that stuff.
Yeah, the outdoors was really the best part of that because it was supposed to rain and it wasn't supposed to rain, and then it was supposed to rain and then it didn't rain. So just giving people extra space right now, because most everyone did a really good job with masks, but
Sure.
you can't. It's hard to keep people accountable. Some people were like less good at it, and then they just need reminded, and then you're like, come on, put it back on. But
but no, it was a good night.
Yeah, I loved it. I had a great time all weekend.
Yeah, no, you were a busy man.
Mm-hmm.
You were a busy man. In fact, I remember coming up to you at the beginning of when I first saw you when we got to the venue. You were, first of all, you're looking sharp.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thanks.
I just couldn't take that compliment too seriously because I was just remembering how we went as friends. So what does it really mean? What does it really mean when you compliment me?
It means what it means.
Fair enough. Anyways, go on. You were complimenting me.
But you were looking a little nervous.
Yeah. Oh, I was.
A little nervous.
I was very nervous. It's just.
I wasn't envying you. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of got there, started having some champagne, and then the rest of the night just kept going with alcohol.
Right. And the smart thing for me to have done was either have no alcohol or have like one shot, right before, just be like, cool it. Not what I did at all. Like I was just, at noon, we went to the groom's little like room to like get set up together, take some pictures and there were beers there, man, and I partook. I forsake my holiest vow.
Every single wedding I've ever been a part of, like in the bridal party, there's always been drinking before the ceremony.
Yeah, but I'm not. I wasn't a groomsman.
Yeah, but like by extension, you kind of were. Is my point.
Yeah. Anyways, it was really nice. It was really, really fun. But what else is up, man?
Any crazy stories from that night? Because I ended up leaving a little earlier than you.
Best man, Void. Good guy.
Yeah.
Small guy. He's just short. He was like our first down and out of the night. It just we had this room at a bar, and Void was just, he just had so much fun, and I'm really happy he did, because right, the best man should be the one who's like, let's have fun, right? But he was in the bathroom for like, let's say a little bit, and then he needed a shoulder home, so I was that shoulder. Sorry, bud, for saying using your real name. we might cut that. We might cut that last part, just the name out. Sorry, buddy.
I actually we there was a point, and you'll remember this.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of holding out for a cigar at some point in the night.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember
Yeah.
I went up to you and I said, "Are we doing this?" And you looked at me right in the eye. And this is how I know we're good friends, because you just looked me right in the eye and you just said, "It's not happening right
Yeah.
now."
I
Which,
spent the whole day rallying troops. So I was gonna rally some more. I'm like, if you can do it, if you can get this happening, like, let's do it. Like I'll go outside and have a cigar with you. But you know,
and it was fine,
woof.
because it was more of one of those things where it was just like, if we're gonna do it now, let's do it. But
Right,
if we're not, I'm gonna go home, because it's
right,
time.
right, right,
It was
right. It
time
was
for me to
time.
go home. And
Right.
so when I got the news that we're not doing it, I went and I'm outside the bar, and I'm using like an Uber, I'm using a Lyft,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing,
Nothing.
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 We were in a
Bummer.
suburban town here in Chicago, and it was
Right.
midnight, 1 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
So it's not completely unsurprising, but I was just like, man, this is a real bummer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
my fiance was like, well, why don't you just call a cab? And I was like, ugh, I don't want to call a cab, but I guess we have no other option.
Right. I've
And
been in I've
then,
been in like
yeah.
2 Ubers in all of quarantine, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't wild about the idea, but again, like, this was, I mean, it was only like a 7, 8 minute drive, but like,
Mhm.
you know, at the end of a night, we're both have had drinks and we're dressed nice and it's a little colder.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't be walking, however, like, mild it
Third
is.
30 minute walk.
30, 45 minute walk. And so,
Yeah, no.
but a good friend of ours,
Yes.
um,
Let's stop saying names. We're definitely
yes,
gonna edit out that part where I said
yeah,
a name.
we will. We
But
will.
we're gonna keep in the part where I keep on mentioning that we're editing out the name. And they'll be like, who? We're not even gonna edit it. We're just gonna turn the sounds down. We're not even gonna cut anything. We're just gonna be like, well, yeah, exactly.
But a
Or
good friend.
I'm gonna record over it, just going void. You know what I mean? So they'll be like
Just like a sound bite.
void. The best
Um,
man, void.
Void. Um, but yeah, a good friend of ours from high school that I really don't see that often.
Yeah.
You know, and she she was like, "Hey, Mitch, do you guys need a ride back to the hotel?" And I
Mm,
think I almost cried on command, because I was just so excited
yeah.
that we were out of
Yeah.
this pickle.
Seriously. Yeah.
So
But
you know who
then
you are. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
void. Yeah.
Void.
Yeah. But then I mean the important next step, right, was like we both got some COVID tests like right
Yes.
after. I'm probably gonna do one again just in case, because like you want to
Yes.
make sure that you are leaving yourself enough time to just like test everything, right?
Yeah. Speaking of, I got a vaccine appointment for tomorrow.
You did.
I did.
Which one?
I don't know. It's definitely a two-shotter. So
Mm, the classic two-shotter.
but I have to
Mm,
drive to
the
Bloomington,
OG.
Illinois. I
Bloomington, Illinois.
Yeah, it's back where I went to school. It's how I could get it. It's how I could get an appointment.
I feel you, man. That's crazy.
And
That's
honestly,
crazy.
tomorrow's like my last like free day before I
Mm-hmm.
like start
Mm-hmm.
work up again. So I figured, why
Yeah.
not take a little roadie?
Mitch Schafline is back at work.
I'm back at work.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. So happy for you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Anything else, man? Anything else? Anything
Uh,
else on your mind?
I mean, it's like you said. We're getting tested and
Yeah.
getting the vaccine because as good as the news has been over the last month or so with
Hmm.
vaccinations increasing,
Yeah.
it's still out there.
Yeah, it's still out there. I mean, especially like doing that wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And scaling it back and leaving room for the outdoors, and the tables were all very spread out for
Mm-hmm.
dinner, and you appreciate what lengths people will go to maintain their community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like these two, they are very hyper aware of like everything that's going on, and they're definitely on the side of let's be as careful as possible and let's take care of everyone. Um and they still they managed to put a wedding on in a way that I think really fulfilled the ceremony part of it and really
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled like their what they wanted to get out of a wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they wanted to feel at their wedding. I think that they were able to accomplish that, and they were also able to accomplish like doing it the right way. And I'm really proud of them for that because it wouldn't have been easy because that sort of, you know, that need to be around the people that you love, right? It's very important, and it's something that we are not able to accomplish that often. We're not able to be there in the way that we used to be or the way that we want to be. And it's really a shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I think, taking a toll on a lot of people. Just the inability to be with those people. And yeah, I for one am really thankful that I was able to, you know, be a part of it, right? And
Absolutely.
to to
Absolutely.
to be able to see you, in a
Yeah.
suit, to see able to see Holly. She looks
Yes.
beautiful, by the way. Yeah,
She looked very. She always does.
she always does.
She always does. But how about you, man? How was the rest of your week?
It was great. I stayed in that hotel room all day Sunday, and just like watched a ton of television. And we ordered sushi, and yeah, it was just good. It was the best thing possible, because it was like I'm back and I'm doing the quarantine right here.
Mm-hmm.
I am not leaving, and I am just like staying in bed, watched a bunch of like there's this show Henry Winkler like travels the world, like with like Terry
Like the
Bradshaw.
Fonz?
Yeah, like the Fonz, like with Terry Bradshaw and George Foreman and oh, I'm blanking on his name. Um, Captain Kirk. What is his name?
Oh, William Shatner.
Thank you. Yes, and like they just kind of traveled the world together, and I basically watched all of that, and it was fantastic. I needed that recovery day, man. I needed it. It was a bunch of long
I
days and
I
long nights.
actually I actually before the wedding we were watching a bunch of like Love It or List It.
Love it or list it. I like love it or list it. That's how much I don't love it, but I like it.
The problem with Love It or List It is that it puts a direct like issue into my relationship with my fiance
Mm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I always think I've never seen an episode, and maybe I just haven't seen all the episodes of Love It or List It, but they never list it ever.
They never list it.
I've never seen them list it, and I'm upset about it because like they clearly have all these very good reasons to leave this house and go buy a
Right.
new one. And my fiance, bless her soul, is always just like, but the nostalgia and the houses, they updated the house, so they should stay. I'm like, no, he's
Boo.
still an hour from work. He's still, it makes no sense.
His life is worse because of nostalgia. How dare you?
So that's always a reigning
Mm.
battle every time we watch that show.
It's
It's kind of like how you can't play Monopoly or like the game of life, like with
yeah.
people you care about.
Yeah.
Be-
It's really nice that um you two are able to make it through all those hardships of loving it or listing it. Parentheses, we always love it. In parentheses. We're
we
proud
always,
we're not gonna list it. We're not going to.
oh my god, oh my
Yeah.
god, that's
You know,
amazing.
yeah, you know what? There's this game like called like whatever, it's like Assassin or something or Spy or whatever, where you one of you is like an alien or a spy or whatever, but like no one knows who that person is, and then you have to like do these missions, and then if you're the spy or the alien or like the traitor or whatever, your job is to make the mission not work,
Right.
and then everyone has to figure out who it is.
I think I've played a variation of that game. I
Yeah.
don't know. I remember what it was called, but
Yeah. I haven't talked to my cousins in years because that goddamn son of a bitch was a spy.
I refuse to play Mario Party anymore.
Oh yeah, Mario Party is friendship
I
murder.
I had this one roommate who was, you know, to his credit, he was very good at like all the mini games in Mario Party.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he's already winning stars because he's good at that. But
Right.
then when he rolls like a 2 and he walks 2 spaces and then a chest opens up and a star just
Mm-hmm.
appears,
Right. And
I
then at
want
the
to
end of the
commit murder.
yeah, and then at the end of the game, there are random stars given out.
Yep.
Like, and when that person just gets random, like, because they change the stars that you get, like
Right.
most green tiles landed on, most red tile, well, you know, longest distance, and like, and then the guy who's already beating you by like 5 stars gets like best smile star. Like, that's how'd you even know that was a thing? You know?
I agree. I agree. There's just certain things that you just have to know. It's like I care about, care and respect you as a person too much
Right.
to play this game with you.
Right. Look, this is going to be an amazing transition. Get
Yes.
ready for this.
Yes.
Um, you know, there's one person who I could say has never made me feel that way, has never made me feel angry in that way, and
Let me
that
guess.
is
Is that our guest?
it is our guest, Aya
It's a good call. Good
Aziz.
call. Good call.
How
I
smooth was that? You know,
that
what the
was
smoothest part
uh,
was when I told you I was going to do it.
18 minutes into this podcast.
Oh no, guys, we've been talking about absolutely nothing for 18 minutes. I hope you guys didn't turn it off, but if you did, you're not hearing this. So, man, I'm really beefing it right now.
Anyway, Aya Aziz.
Yeah,
She's a
Aya
good friend of
Aziz.
yours from Esper.
Yes, from the William Esper Studio. Yes, she is a playwright, actor, dancer, choreographer, musician, composer, uh, blah, you know, like a lot of it, just immense. She wrote this show called Questions from My Father, which premiered, I don't know where, I'm not entirely sure where it premiered. It recently played at the New York Musical Festival, the NYMF, let's just say, in case I didn't get the words entirely correctly. Yeah, but she is absolutely fantastic in every single one of those fields that she works in. She's very talented. She's very talented and a very creative soul.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I worked with her when we were studying on a couple of scenes, and um, also just kind of knowing her and getting her opinion on life during that kind of 2 year study. She's so wise. She's so wise, and very much a interesting perspective to always get. And I think that kind of shows through with this interview is just her perspective is her own. It's uniquely hers, and it is eye opening. It's very eye opening to kind of see all the ways in which she um, sees things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was in the process when we interviewed her. She was in the process of she's writing an album.
An
She
album.
got a
Yeah.
grant. I don't remember the exact specifications of what it was, but she was writing an album. So,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you know, it seems like she's always moving, right? It's like a shark.
Yes.
If you stop moving, you die.
Well,
And
yeah,
yeah.
she's truly in the world of
Mm-hmm.
like this New York scene. Like, she's born. Sorry, not born. She was raised for most of her life in New York. Maybe born, but I don't know. But raised most of her life in New York, and she kind of has seen so many sides of this business because of that. And um, she really attests to like the getting to know and getting into the community of the New York theater world. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really interesting to see her and hear her talk about um, what she wants for the community, what it turns into sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
How it feels like when you're not entirely good at like saying, "Hey, I want in," right? You know,
Right.
I want to be family with you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes work. It takes a lot of work. Yeah.
She's super brave too. I mean, like it's just like she talks about how she says like there's definitely an acclimation process with different stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
the idea of like she lets the art kind of dictate what it's going to be. Like she doesn't always
Yeah.
necessarily know if she's like I'm writing a musical or I'm writing
Yeah.
this just piece of music or a play or she just kind of lets it happen and then she tries new things all the time. And I
Yeah.
remember being very taken
Yeah.
with her.
There was this, I saw it on her Instagram. There was this art piece. It was photography piece of like her dancing, like, cause she is like, um, fantastic dancer, and there was like maybe it was like some like repeated videos or like some videos stitched together,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like her in like a very unique scenario, like getting into like the vibe of whatever the music was and like being photographed in like that like way.
Mm-hmm.
Even that I was like, oh, because that was kind of when I first met her, and I was like, oh, she is kind of like about it, you know, about the art world, like in any way, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
she's open to like any sort of idea, like of, because this wasn't just like headshot pictures, you know,
Right.
there was like a theme to what the um photographer wanted to make you feel,
Mm-hmm.
and a theme to what the photographer wanted to bring to light in like the conversation about it. That
Mm-hmm.
said, that was 2 years ago. I'm not entirely sure I remember exactly everything about it, but I remember her thinking about that and being like, because I only knew her as an actor at the time, and I was thinking, oh, okay, so this is a person who lives in the art world, and that's her state, her comfort is to be challenged as an artist, is to be surrounded in that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to come from acting, it doesn't have to come from singing or dancing or, you know,
Right.
composing, she's just kind of one of those persons who, um, when she feels that connection to the message and to the meaning, she will do it
Mm-hmm.
because the art is important enough that she will be game, for it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
I think she's maybe like the one of the best spoken interviews we had. I was listening to that when I was doing the videos, the highlight videos. There was that phrase I just like fell in love with, collaborative collective of community
That
rising.
was
Well,
that
I'm
was a
just
really
like,
great soundbite.
what is
Mm-hmm.
that? I'm like, and that's just kind of, and that's just
Yeah.
kind of how she like operates. It's just like, oh, like you almost speak in poetry sometimes because it feels like that, because she wants her message to be felt as much as to be made sense logically, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Anything else? Anything to add to it?
Enjoy the interview. All right. Here we are. Welcome to the interview section of Two Person Echo Chamber. And
Two-person echo chamber.
our guest today is Aya Aziz. How do you say it? You have a different name on your Zoom. How do you say that?
Ooh, Abdelaziz.
Abdelaziz. Is
Yeah.
that
Does it?
is that your full last name, or is that?
Yeah, that's my
Oh,
full
okay.
last name. I have
Okay.
a fun fact, which is
Okay.
that I have an even fuller last name.
Ooh,
And
please share.
are you ready?
Can
Okay.
we?
Yeah.
Aya Abdelaziz Mohammed Hassan. Oh, Aya Abdel. Oh, I messed it
See,
up.
it's that hard. She can't do it.
Aya Abdelaziz Mohammed Ragab Abdelaziz Mohammed Hassan Ismail Hussein Al Aswad.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's all my grandfathers, great grandfathers names, but that's on my birth certificate in Egypt. So.
Oh, okay.
See, for my birth certificate, it says John Anton Putz Jr. And even that like almost takes up the full space of the page. So I I wonder where they found the room. Is it
Do they even have? Do they even put like where in Egypt it is? It's just literally just your name and then just on a piece of paper.
I've never actually seen it. I just know that that is my registered full name in
Huh.
in Egypt.
It's beautiful that you have something like that though, because
Yeah.
I find that there's like, especially with some like, oh, speaking of, by the way, Aya here is a actor, playwright, musician, and composer, dancer, badass,
Really a
and
Renaissance woman.
and she's here to pop or expand our bubble. We're gonna go ahead and see what happens. If we agree the whole time, it just proves our bubble over and over and over again. But if not, maybe we need a little popping.
Curious about this bubble.
Well, we just, Mitch and I have very similar set of views. We were raised very like blocks apart from each other.
Yeah.
We went to the same high school, and we just think that we probably need some perspective. Because especially during this pandemic, it's been me talking to him and him talking to me, and it's just a lot of us going, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It sounds like you're yelling, but I agree with you, But what can you do? So how's your pandemic going?
Oh, my pandemic. It's a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster of feeling great and then not feeling great, and
Sure.
successes and failures. The whole.
It seems like you've been working on a lot of music, right?
Yeah, I have not enough. I'm.
It's never enough, right?
It's
But
never
that's
enough.
like that's a you standard thing.
Well, no, it's also the standard of I'm on a timeline for an album as per a grant that I got last year, and I haven't made the progress that I need to make on that album, and I'm reckoning with that and trying to figure out what to do to get things going.
Yeah. What
Um,
grant is it?
it's the New York Fund for the Arts gave
Hmm.
me a full grant for an album. So
Wow.
yeah.
How do you find yourself, like, for all people who are, like-minded in the same way that you are, of, wanting to be artistic in so many different ways? Uh, how do you find the opportunities like that, and how do you put yourself in those situations that you are, whether it's coming out the way that you want to come out, or whether it's like a slow process? How do you find yourself presenting yourself for those opportunities, as well as like leaving the door open for those opportunities to present to you?
Well, I must say I think privilege is a big part of that, right? Like I took I was able to take off work for 2 months, 3 months, and I was between leases, and this was about a year and a half ago. Um, and I moved to my mom's. I quit my bartending job, and I made it my mission to just apply to everything that I could apply to for the next year to bolster me. I must have sent like 30 grant applications, applications
I
for fellowships, and yeah, it was really that, and it was a good practice of um, having to write about my work and what I want
Yeah.
to do. That in itself, not that it. I think that's something that's worth doing outside of grant making or grant writing or fellowship applications, but the process really helps ground you in at least how to sell the ideas. Whether or not
Sure.
they're always, everything is subject to change, right? I am definitely not writing the album that I submitted, or the album framework that I submitted. But I had some songs that I made. I had
Mhm.
some past recognition that probably bolstered my application, and I created a budget and a framework for the thematic um, exploration I was doing, and sold it. And it was a good, I actually got denied for that same grant the year before, and then used that as practice.
Sure.
Right?
But like that you were saying something about how it is important to write about the things that you want to create. It kind of, you were saying, it grounds you. I often find
Mm.
that, I am I am my favorite bad playwright. And I often find myself, when I am getting stuck in stuff, not when I go to explain what it's about to myself, I go, well, it's kind of this, it's kind of that. And then it ends up being, I don't know what it is, and I don't know what I want to say. Um, it seems like having an important message, whether the message is important or not, but like having a message that you want to tell, right? Or a story that you want to tell is fundamental in actually like letting yourself lay groundwork. Like, where are you going? What are you doing without it? It's not enough to just be creative in the moment, right? There is something that you have to step away from your creativity and analyze. Like, you have to have this mindfulness about what is like the overall accomplishment. do
Mm.
you do you feel like that analysis, like, through, do you think, like, when you were doing the grant applications, like, that analysis is something that you work with now more than you were before?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So I actually think knowing how to sell yourself and present yourself is different from the creation of the work. I never
Hmm.
know what my shit's about. I mean, I try to, but
Yeah.
I think you're hitting on kind of the process of playwriting or creative producing is you let
Hmm.
the work tell you what it wants to be,
Yeah.
and I think when you once the work is taking shape and there are themes there that you are, I mean, it also depends on the medium, right? Like with uh, TV writing, kind of the in order to sell the work, you need to know what the show's going to say, the themes,
Yeah.
and it's
Did
actually
anyone catch that, by the way?
Oh, I 100% got that.
Sorry, my mic went flying. Can you please talk more about TV writing? It went. Okay, sorry. You were talking about the difference between letting it come to you and also things more like TV writing and format.
Yeah, I just think it changes between the medium. I think there's a general, very important disconnect between the process of making the work and selling the work, and off the analysis of what I'm doing, whatever that all has to do with how do I sell myself as an artist, kind of the entrepreneurial aspect of being one's own agent and spokesperson, and that often never helps me figure out what the piece is, although sometimes I do have, sometimes in writing it can help me if I'm like, this is the question that I'm asking. Sometimes that can ground me, but oftentimes I just heard, um, a wonderful, playwright, um, I want to get her name right. Okay, I was right. I didn't need to look that up. But I just heard of, to heed the advice of a playwright I admire greatly, Magdalia Cruz. You let the plays write themselves. You let the characters tell you who they are and what they want to be. And the more you outline, the more you, um, force structure onto a play. I think the harder, the more distanced you are from what the characters are trying to tell you, what who they want to be and who they need to be, the emotional impetus that brings you to the writing process, and it can actually dull or reduce the world of the play that you're building, or your capacity to build that world if you're trying to define it at every moment. And so I think with playwriting that's different from TV writing, which has a form and a structure, and the selling of the work is almost part of the making of the work, because you're sticking to how are these themes going to arc over a 1-2 season,
Right.
you're so I think it changes between mediums, but I hear what you're saying about, in playwriting that analysis is unhelpful, and I think that's right. I think you're
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, it kind of sounds like what does that translate to in real life, what you're talking about like letting it come to you? Is that intuition? Is that what is that in real life? I feel like it's some sort of like intuition, some sort of like reactionary, like emotional reactionary thing, right? Like where like does that benefit you in real life? Like, well, not real life,
yeah.
non-artistic life.
I think so. It's very funny because I've been struggling, especially in this pandemic, with my art, because I've stepped back from my intuition in many ways outside of
Yeah,
my art life, and I don't know. Um, I mean, you could call it that. Other people might call it like shrinking oneself, or
sure.
feeling stepping out of one's power. But yeah, I do think when I'm in the zone, it does help me, and I'm a very, um, emotional person, an emotionally sensitive person, sensitive to other people's emotions, and I think that does help me, and in my art and in my life. And I think that's a beautiful way to put it. How do the how, when you're creating a work, do the characters tell you what they want to be? I think it just I think you just have to write and
Yeah,
trust what feels feels authentic and what doesn't, or what
yeah,
feels like the voice and what doesn't, what compels you. I think that's so much a conversation between whatever you think you're supposed to put down, and then tapping into those moments where you're just free writing. I'm really into the artist way right now, these morning pages of just getting up and like forcing myself to produce things so
yeah,
that I get out of my way. So much of art making is getting out of our own way and
yeah, yeah.
living in
Leaving.
joy or emotional moment that
Mhm.
is evoked by our thoughts, by the things that interest us. And that is intuition, or that is, our personhood that guides our passion in making the work. And I think when you're in conversation with what um, is evoking emotion, whether it's joy or sadness or anger, that's when the work is working. That's when we're
Yeah. You
really
said you were
coming together.
stepping away from that in real life though during this pandemic. Is that something that like maybe is for safety, you know? Like you're a very loving person, right? And you like you said you're emotional. Like you're emotionally connected. You have emotional is the wrong word. You have empathy, right? You have a ton of empathy from what I know about you. Like and to be empathetic, I think during a time when you can't be close to someone is really difficult. Is do you think that's what's like pushing you back, is like your natural state of connection is like something that isn't entirely healthy for the rest of your body now?
Yeah, that's I never thought of it that way, but maybe that is part of it. I think there are just so many things in this period that are abnormal, that are affecting us in more ways than we can identify them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I found it harder. Um, yeah, it's harder to be emotionally grounded for for myself. Less so. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been better recently about being present for others. I definitely
Mm-hmm.
went through a period right at the start of the pandemic where I like fell into a depression and wasn't showing up for, my 8-year-old neighbor who I have to call every week,
Mm-hmm.
or things like that.
That's
But
real New York living, by the way. Like most like New York living in terms of like me who moved there is like I don't know any of my neighbors, but I as New York living, how long have you been there?
oh my God, my whole
Yeah, you're
the
basically your whole
22
life.
years.
Yeah, 22 years.
Yeah.
That's real New York living, is like, yeah, my 80-year-old neighbor needs me to, come in there and just check up on everything. That's what people miss about New York. It's not all like 30 Rock, you know?
My neighbor anymore. She's my mom's neighbor. But yes,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't need to add that detail. But you're right. But that came out of living there as well.
Yeah,
I think
but I feel
yeah, it's
so
so hard to
you
find
were
ways to.
you were saying at the beginning of the pandemic was like kind of a depressive time for you. Like, is there anything you like learned about yourself as an artist or as a person during that? I'll give you
Oh.
mine. Look, I just thought of mine, so I'll give you a second. I was thinking of mine. Oh man, and it's so deep and it's so frustrating, but it's really good to know. Is that like I found that I am very good at like slightly above base level friendship, right? But there have been so many times during this pandemic that I have emotionally tortured people who are close, really close to me. Not like in a way where I know what I'm even doing, but like on a reflection level, it's wholly unnecessary. A lot of the stuff that I get so torn up about and make other people's problems. And I think that that has a lot to do with me like stepping away from a lot of other emotional relationships in my life because I know subconsciously that I'm going to torture them for being so good to me, you know? And it's not like an unfixable problem, but it is something that like I don't think, you know, I would have realized unless I was really like stuck spending time with like only the close ones, you know, because like I'm stuck, not stuck, but I'm here at home in Chicago with my family. And I used to be in New York while they were in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And now I can't step away.
Yeah.
So now I'm realizing, oh, this is really like my problem, not theirs in like a lot of instances. Is there something in your life that makes you go like, oh, this is what I do that's like wrong that I
Yeah.
maybe I wouldn't have realized if I wasn't here in this moment?
Yeah. Well, I disappear on people. I
Yeah.
like get I but more time passes between when I can be I'm I'm a pretty introverted person, and
Mhm.
in a way that I think I feel a disconnect in this hyper social world where
Yeah.
I find it difficult, emotionally difficult, to make sure that I'm talking to everybody I need to talk to every day. And that got
It's stressful.
yeah, and in fact, just before this call, one of my collaborators was like, "You didn't check in with me," and that is something that I've learned in art. Is that especially as I'm building these collaborative relationships that I want to hold on to and not lose,
Yeah.
I need to fix this communication part of me that disappears and loses track of time in communication. Um, and that is not active care, and I want to aspire to active care, but also haven't fully figured out, and this is the process of what I'm trying to work through, how to to stay regimented in my communication while also protecting my own needs and my
Yeah.
propensity for exhaustion and introvertedness and need to be with myself and um, figure out my own artistic voice. So and that also got the irony of this is that I'm a communications director at an NGO, and that I got worse at communicating with
Of course.
people
Of
in my life
course.
the
Of
more it
course.
became my job.
Well, it's like there's this study where a lot of millennials right now are staying up way too late because they don't find like the personal time to be introverted, like during the day, during the workday or whatever, right? Which is something I deeply connect with. Because nothing you were saying, right, is technically bad. Introversion, needing time for myself, your creativity maybe um, is more introspective than others, but you also do aspire to collaboration. It's these negative parts of you, quote unquote, aren't entirely negative. It's just utilized in a way that maybe you would want to shift, right?
Yeah, well, I'm the funny thing is I'm very collaborative in my like all of my artwork,
Mm-hmm.
save this album, which needs to be more introspective, is collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
But I just need to, to be able to say, hey, couldn't get back to you. I need some
Right.
more time before I get back to you. Or, hey,
Right.
how you doing? Hope you're well. This can't be a long conversation just because I'm swamped. Being able to just like force yourself to communicate the truth without feeling like you have to give everything in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I torture people too, John, just in silence. And I don't even realize it. I don't realize that like a week or 2 weeks has gone by before I've responded to a person. And that's something I've learned a lot about in this pandemic.
Do you do that thing where you see a text and then you're like, I need to think about what to say, and then you forget?
Every
I
time.
do that all the time.
Me too. It's so sad.
I've
It
been
makes me
trying
so sad every single time. I'm like,
I
I failed again. I failed again.
I've been trying to do this thing where it's like after like every like 48 hours I'll like go through the messages of the last 2 days just to be like, okay, did I leave someone on red right now? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
just
So good. I'm
yeah.
gonna use that, Mitch. That's wonderful.
I mean
Maybe
it,
like set an alarm.
and I'm not even doing it like, and I'm still screwing that up here and there, but it's just like sometimes, and I don't even like, and to divert a little bit from what John said, I mean, it's not even that thing of like, I'm thinking about it. Sometimes it's like, I will see it and then I will either be distracted by something else entirely different, or I guess maybe in my brain, it's just like, I don't have anything to say right now. So like, I don't respond because I don't want to look like an idiot.
Mm.
But then it's like, well, I should have just said something.
It's a lot of pressure, right? To
Yeah.
like, because texting, it's the same as social media. It's not like a conversation. It still isn't. It can't be, because there's so much more to conversation, right? Like a play isn't a play until it's spoken out loud, right?
Yeah.
Like this opinion, 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 opinion. and there's like a checkup, like, hey, how are you? Good. Good. How are you? Good. The reason why I'm texting you is right. Like,
You gotta get through the small talk.
Yeah, small talk, small talk. Aya, where is your final draft? You know, like it's a lot. Like there's so many like different pressures in life about like what to accomplish when, and it kind of, and there's no off switch, right? People can email you whenever they want from whatever device they want, and you can receive it from all your devices. Like,
Yeah.
maybe, right? Like, how do we, you know, people who are more introverted, how do we like pull off both? How do we, you know, take care of ourselves and then also be good at responding to people who don't know that this is our quiet time? You know? Mm-mm. Do you have any answers?
Well, I think Mitch offering one, you know, what you've offered is so just like ritual or just regiment in the things that we do. Like maybe you can't, maybe the whole email inbox is overwhelming, but um, if you say, okay, at 12 p.m. I'll respond to 4 emails, or at, you know, if you break it down, or as soon as I get 6 emails in my inbox, I'll
Yeah.
respond to all of them. I'll let 3 emails pile up before I respond to all of them. Setting these simple tasks that make the intimidation of consistent communication a little more manageable on the, you know,
Yeah.
scheduled way, I think is really smart. And Mitch, I'm totally going to use that.
He did it.
Well, you know, I think I learned that I'm not an introvert. So this was an experience. This entire pandemic was an experience of like, oh, you can't see anybody. You have to see the same people only for the rest, for like what seems like the rest of your life at the moment. So like, I feel like I personally went through the ups and downs of going, oh, you know, I am going to focus on me. I'm going to have all this free time to focus on myself. And then like maybe like a week goes by and it's like, okay, I need to talk to another person who has a different opinion than me, just so I can get from a perspective in the world.
And that's why we made this podcast of two people who have the exact same opinion.
But, you know, I think what was interesting was, you know, I mean, it's sometimes it's, you know, it's hard. And I think especially someone in your line of work where you have a lot of you know, instruments, and you're cooking with a lot of different things. So you have a lot of things going on, and it can be easy to get overwhelmed by workload. And so, I mean, that, you know, I think that's totally normal. I don't think you should feel ashamed in any way.
Well, I mean, I'm a bad communicator though in terms of consistency. I know that, and I think finding ways to, God, success in this, especially in this city, where survival even is so much about relationship building.
Yeah.
And people will open doors for you in the art world, and you will open doors for others. And it's like, that's what we want it to be. We want it to be this collaborative community of collective rising, right? But damn, it's hard to like in the interim.
Wait a minute. Yes, but also I just really want to hit back on that like beautiful alliterative sentence about what we want New York arts to be. Collaborative, collective of community rising. Ah, she's a writer, folks. She's wow. Did that just pop into your head?
Oh.
Wow.
But yeah, that's the. I'm so happy something I said made sense. That's great.
Plenty you have. Do you have like a memory of that? Of like this is when that communication actually paid off and like it did open a door for me, and like how did that feel, like going against like maybe your natural instincts, like there's so many shows like A Dot, right? Like that, like what brought that about besides your writing? Like what were the other parts of that? Because you couldn't have done it alone. I mean, you are very capable, right? But
well, no, that was I would never have probably embarked on that piece in its magnitude, a
Sure.
multi-character. um, I came to Ada because I was like a failed songwriter who didn't have enough time to make an hour and a half slot, so I had to make like little comedic bits in between. And then and that was in Lebanon, and then I brought that show to the Fringe, who's now our Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
That our friends at the Fringe that once was. And then it was at and Planet Connections Theater Festivity, which is another small theater festival, and it was somebody coming to review, my lovely collaborative director, and partner in the development of the work, Arpita Mukherjee, who would come to review the work, for StageBuddy.com, sent, read up a review, and then reached out to me like, hey, this is, your show's a mess, but I have a production company and I see potential in you. Would you want to try a thing? And then her career blew up.
Yeah.
She's now her most recent show is at the Geffen right now, Bollywood Kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And she did before that San Diego Rep. Before that, she's at Manhattan Theater Club. She's huge now. But before it was this young woman who had come to write a theater review for basically like a blog, a theater blog in a tiny little off Broadway.
But you still had the bravery of like presenting something, right? Like putting something out into the world. It might not have been complete, right? It might not have been the entire vision even. You might not have even known what the vision was, right? Like without maybe someone like this person going, hey, if you tweak this and this, like we can actually like reach the final goal of like what you want this show to be. By the way, the whole title is Questions for My Father. Yeah. And I remember it was being put on during our first year at the Esper studio, and I stood outside because I didn't get tickets in advance, and I got turned away at the door. Two people ahead of me. I was so frustrated. But I mean, it's completely on me because you were, very much like, hey guys, by the way, there is something going on, and I did that thing that I do, where it's just, I'll go, but right.
No, and I'm so sorry you had to stand out there. That was such a, and it was.
Yeah, I was out there with like Laith and Suzanne Esper, and it was okay. They didn't get tickets in advance either, but they still were like, let's go. They still wanted to go.
That's awesome. You guys shared in your misery of not planning ahead.
It's completely on us. You have nothing to be sorry for.
Aren't those tiny spaces like also like the coolest places though?
Yes, I had so much fun.
Like the atmosphere.
I say that, and I'm so grateful for New York Theater Workshop even taking me.
Yeah, but like it's the same. It's kind of what you were saying about presenting. How you work, presenting your ideas, and how you work with yourself, right? Like it might be really cool to do the small theater, but like if you're thinking about it in the business, it's like, well, I can get like 20 more seats, which is like actually like maybe $400 more depending on how like what the ticket prices are. If I just get the, like
it really comes down to how much do you care about fire code? I mean,
none. Not at all.
I did a production of Assassins at school, and it was basically in a glorified classroom, and it was like maybe seated 30, and then they basically put people in the aisles. So I'm like, so if this place were to go up in flames, we're all surely gonna die, right? Like we're all just universally accepting that.
But here you stand, man.
But the magic was amazing every night because it's like with the space that small, there was no way to not feel like, all right, I'm on top of you, and we're gonna share in some magic together.
Oh yeah. I did this two-hander when I was in school in someone's basement, and it was just like we had like some chairs, but we were like, if you have lawn chairs, come bring them down to this basement. And
Highly
it just like
encouraged.
was fully surrounded the thing, and it was just like me and Lauren Sagendorf, love her, just doing our own doing our thing, like no breaks, hour 45, no way off stage. We can't get off stage because of the chairs, you know. So it was it feels so good, but we didn't get reviewed. We were in a basement.
Well, I didn't get reviewed either at
No.
the workshop.
Yeah, I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember that.
Small
Do
city.
you want to talk about that?
Oh no.
Okay. I mean,
Fine.
well, because I was actually, what was the song I was listening to of yours?
There's so few of them online.
The words they don't say.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's like
So
you must have been listening to the oldest version of that there is, where I'm like making monkey sounds in the background. I'm like,
oh yeah, there was
terrible.
monkey sounds.
It's terrible.
I loved it.
19.
But what was, I mean, in terms of the lyrics though, like what compelled you to write a song like that is, I mean, by the way, would you consider yourself rapping in that? Like, because I was like, that's rapping, like she's rapping, but like I don't know if she wants to call it rapping, right? Because you're not like a rapper, so I don't know if like Drake likes to call himself a rapper, and I don't think he is, but like, do you want to call yourself a rapper?
Well, as like when I co-taught a lyricist class that was really a rap class and hip hop writing, like getting the 16 bars down in a school in Harlem, and they called me White Eminem, whiter than Eminem.
I was gonna say
Eminem is white. I'm half.
But you're less white than Eminem.
To these kids, they were like, "Yeah, Miss."
Oh my God. But you know what though? Like out of all the people that, that white people present as like upstanding parts of our society and like good and bad things, and like in places where they all fail, at least we can say we have one really good rapper. He's very good. The other white guys aren't so great, but like that one, oh, he's fast.
He's fast.
Oh my God.
Oh
I
my
guess
How'd you find yourself doing hip hop rap song? Like, how do you find yourself in that situation? How do you find yourself in all of these situations
Whoa.
where it's, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that? Like,
Well, I had a very confused upbringing of just being part of many different spaces, and I think so. I think I have a lot of influences in me that come out, and a lot of interests because of that, because of hopping between. I just grew. I mean, I had a very New York upbringing in many ways, and I don't like to. Yeah, I would not call myself a rapper or a hip hop artist. Because I just feel weird doing that. Also, yeah, but I mean, it would be an honor to be that. But
sure.
But
there's a stick, because I know that you sing, you songwrite, you act, you dance, you write, you rap. You're almost undefinable, right? I mean, there's also a standard of like rapping that I think is like, even if you can and even if you do, I think some people shy away from that title because there is like a standard of like how good you are. Can you do freestyle, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into being that type of artist, right? And
yeah, it's also
you almost have too much stuff going on to focus that intently on the one thing, right? Sorry, I interrupted.
No, but I think that's it. I also, I, I don't know, maybe personally just like feel weird about, well, yeah, it's like I'm between, I mean, I'm not finishing my sentences. This question of focus and defining one's artistic practice is
Mm.
often a confusing one for me because I feel so hyphenated. And you're so right that there's a kind of weightedness to being a rapper, where if you're being a rapper, there's also, it's like part of the, part of the art is being, um, is responding to the culture, as being,
Yeah.
establishing oneself as a rap artist for your lyrical
Yeah.
prose, for your rap voice. I have a terrible rap voice. I would never, it's, I think of it more as like rhythmic, rhythmic writing, rhythmic lyricism. I don't know.
Okay. You could call it that if you want.
No, but it's very funny because speaking of doors that open, I was at a Freestyle Mondays, which is an incredible, if anyone who's listening to this loves rap, check out Freestyle Mondays. And Ill Spoken, who's the organizer and producer and rap artist who created that community. And it was before COVID, a space that would be like in a club or a restaurant, and with a stage. And every Monday there'd be freestyle battles. And a cipher, and then at the end an open mic. And I was going to a Freestyle Mondays because I just, I love rap, and I love freestyling and art, and just that community too. I was just so, I don't know, I was just taken by the space of that Freestyle Mondays.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I landed myself there at that time. I think a bandmate was like, "Come to this," and then I was like, "Well, this is the coolest space ever. It's just people improving and being in community and like rap battling. It's amazing." And I met somebody who was like, "Hey, get on stage." Like you say, they asked me what do I do, and I said, "Oh, singer songwriter," and I'm like, I'm just here to watch. And they were like, "No, you get on stage." Um, and it was like toward the end of the night, and it was like, get on stage, you have to get on stage, come on, do it, come on, I dare you. So I went on stage and I performed one of my lyrical rhythmic one of my raps.
Mm.
I had a rap and I performed the rap, and the somebody in the audience saw me, who is now one of my closest friends, who's an incredible freestyle artist and who is a music producer, playwright themselves. And I was suddenly taken into a world of this person who just heard me rapping on a mic, um, and would introduce me as a freestyle artist and rapper wherever we went. And it would be terrible because then they'd pass me the mic, and I can't freestyle shit. I really can't.
Sounds like a good friend.
It's
It's like, you know that I hate this and you're still doing it.
Your friend Sean Randall of the I Love Sean Randall show at Bowery Poetry Club. Or it's actually, no, that's not the show name. It's the Symphonics Live at Bowery Poetry Club, but his Instagram handle is I Love Sean Randall. And he, one of those moments of put yourself out there and meet people. And that has been the way that I've built community in this city. It's just by trying a thing and meeting people in the doing of it.
That almost, it sounds like it's the thing that has taken you the farthest, and the thing that you value the most, and also the thing that you just wish you were better at the same time. There's so many levels to this one thing that, like, I mean, it's almost like you're looking at the successes in your life, and you see what it is, right? But it doesn't, and it's all connected to this one thing, and that doesn't make it easier to do. Yeah, and that is a tough place to be in, because you see the benefits, but you still are, who you are, right? In all your glory and all your, introspection and empathy and ability to work with others. But it's still like that first step, right, is just so hard all the time. And it doesn't seem to get easier. Like, not for you, but for me, like, I feel like that. Do you feel that way? Like, where it's just like, if I could just master this one thing, if I could just, it'd all be different.
Totally, John. And
Yeah.
I was talking about this with a friend the other day about like how fascinating it is that the things that make us, perhaps the quality that makes us so good at our art or so good at one thing, is also
Mm.
the same quality that either makes us really bad at something else, or
Mhm.
or kind of
Yeah.
the two pronged thing you're saying, that when it's good, it's really good, and when we can't do it, we suffer. So
What did I text you about the David Bowie quote? Kind of because we were talking earlier about like we're going to talk about this, and this, and you're like, I don't know, because like you're like I'm a hot. You texted me. You're like I'm a hot mess, and I'm like, no, you're not. You're a creative, right? And it's the David Bowie quote,
We're
right?
all hot messes.
Yeah, we are. Where the quote is, like an artist like has to live in dysfunction, right? At a certain point, right? Like you can't be fully formed, or else like you'd be so boring to listen to, right? Like you'd be so boring. Like your opinion needs to be able to change and grow, and your art needs to be searching for something, right? Like, man, if you like had everything going on, like why would we listen to that, right? Like if there's no question about what life is about, if there's no searching for like some beautiful meaning, like I guess maybe I don't want the answer. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I don't want the answer to life because I really enjoy artists who are just searching for the answer. But I don't know.
that's beautifully put, John.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So you have so many projects going on, and what would you say is like a consistent inspiration for you?
Oh, um, consistent inspiration. I think, yeah, I'm just trying to think of like in this, what am I looking? Are there similar themes? I think I'm really taken um, by human connection, by witnessing what it means to, when people see each other um, in all their complexity and
Yeah.
can connect in that complexity. Um, I'm really taken by uh, belonging, by found community and found family. Um, these are all themes that are currently circulating in my work now, taken by place and the concept of disappearing places. In New York City, a space that's very transient and in constant transition because of hypergentrification. What does it mean to lose the things we associate with ourselves, or associate as part of ourselves? So physical place, um, uh, emotional places, where we go for refuge, where we go in anger. Um, these are all, so I think belonging, place, human connection, and love drives my work a lot. I think.
You also mentioned that you always say that you like to let the work do the writing or do like speak for you. Like
Yeah.
you don't try to regiment it too much. You try to let it breathe or so. But do you think there's like a specific form of art that you do that maybe predominantly comes out first, or like an idea comes out like, oh, really my idea is more of a song, but then I rework it this way or something like that? Do you ever run into stuff like scenarios like that?
Yes, fully. In musical theater writing. So musical theater writing is very different from playwriting in that in you're looking for, okay, well then what will the dramatic moment look like in song? Um, what in this, if I'm, something needs to happen, how do I make the song more active and speak to the emotional truth of the moment? And so it's very much like creating work out of um, a, a, a feeling and identifying the feeling first, as opposed to writing to, or identifying the feeling or the idea or the action, and then creating art around that, versus sitting in the feeling and letting it take you to the next one.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, like that to me is like that I'm so envious of that ability, because I know for myself, as a performer, I always have family or friends that are always like, well, have you ever thought about writing? And I always go, yeah, but I don't know if it's for me. And because I feel like I don't have that ability to feel like I can hear a piece of music or a piece of a script or something, and I can interpret this a certain way, but I don't think I could create that. What would you say is the best piece of advice for aspiring artists who are struggling to find their voice?
Wow, I can say that I'm still trying to find my voice. That I barely identify as a writer, though I write. And I think I think it's the act of doing. Um, I I think it's the practice of just getting things down onto a page, and trusting that the work is not going to be good. And until you allow your sense of quality and your sense of what you want and love to bring you to what you want the work to be.
Yeah.
Because we all have that sense of quality, especially as performers. We know what a an energetic scene feels like. We know how to identify the emotional through lines, right, of a piece. That's part of the technique of inhabiting characters. And
Yeah.
I think whether it's dramatic writing that you're in pursuit of, or prose, I think just letting yourself do it. Just get out of your way. Put the terrible shit down on the paper. Do it all the time. Make a habit out of it. I think this is why I recommend the artist way a lot, just because I'm in looking for that for looking on my looking to get out of my own way
Mhm.
myself, and I think that's something that writers are always struggling with. And I have found that no amount of people telling me that my work is good helps me create the next work. That is just I'm discovered that my mom is always so mad. Why are you stressed out over the deadline again? Just do the thing. It's gonna be fine. It always is fine. What's your problem?
It's always fine.
But it's like you said before, it's what you guys agreed to before. It's like we can't, artists can't, creatives can't be put in a box. Anytime they start officially like regimenting their life, it's no longer interesting.
Mm.
So I mean,
Mhm.
I get where your mom's coming from, but at the same time, it's like, this is just who I am. We're just gonna have to accept that I'm terrible and I have to do it by this time, and maybe
Look,
it'll work
I'm
out.
terrible.
But there also has to be joy in it, right? Like,
Right,
as
yeah,
somebody
of
who's
course.
consistently behind on deadlines and depressed about it, and not balancing my art life work balance well, um, I'm trying to hold to the joy of doing. And
Mhm.
how do I create? How do I ground myself? If I'm going to make a life out of this, I want to be happy. Damn it! I don't want to be sad all the time. I don't want to be like staying up all night all the time.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
totally my process. God, I'm a wreck. This is coming from somebody who is a full wreck when it comes to making work. And
All of this opinion has been from a full wreck. We're gonna just preface this whole interview.
but and I say that um because I think all of that recklessness and the recklessness of being in in a state of
Wreckfulness?
wreckfulness, yeah. But it is also a kind of recklessness in your
Yes.
in your health and your
Yeah.
care for yourself. And I just want to believe, and I do believe, that you don't have to. What was that? Was it a Hemingway quote of like having to that the writer has to like rip his skin off themselves?
Yeah.
When, yeah, I
Yeah, is
don't
that
want to.
Hemingway?
It might not be.
We'll put it in the description.
But I don't believe it has to be. I think I don't think that the answers come when we want them to come. That's always the thing.
Yeah.
That's always right. But how can we, in the waiting period, right, still be doing the work on ourselves, so that and in a way that's joyful, in a way that centers our mental health, in a way that is sustainable. Because what happened to me post ADA was I killed myself making that musical, and then I had a year of being unable to make anything. A whole year. That's insane.
There is this, I mean, at least for me, and I find it with a lot of artists, like there is this energy, this way of getting to this very specific artistic place that people find different ways to, that doesn't always make art, but like it's the kind of the same feeling every time, you know, where it's like right before, when I'm done warming up for acting scene or whatever, there's like this energy mixed with calm that it's just like, how the hell, like you kind of find your way there, right? And sometimes you don't. How do you find your way back to that, right? Like how do you, after ADA, like you were burnt out on this feeling, right? This like insane creativity, which is you know, our teacher would say it's a muscle, right? And then you're just like, oh, I've worked out like 300 days in a row. I need like a couple days off. Like the muscle isn't working right now. How do you like, I know how to find it, but like, I wonder if people know how to re-find it. Like if there's like almost like a way. Yeah. That even that question though is so anti-artistic, is like find a way back, you know?
Find a way back.
Let it find its way back to you.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff that I only started doing outside of my art that has been helping me art. Like these writing every day, or these morning pages, or reading, honestly, reading more, just being able to foster my curiosity so that I feel less, so that my world feels less small, because to write, you have to also take in, right? To create, we have to be able to absorb. And the absorption is just as important as the product. What is the product, right? And I think there's an artistry in the pursuit of knowledge, and in the pursuit of self, that has to feed and be in conversation with the act and process of producing something material. And so I'm trying to see, you know, my art and my art self, or the stuff that I'm making, and what I do in my off time to feed my soul as as in harmony, as in need of being in conversation or together, and that I can't actually separate them, that I can't be not talking to anybody, and like not eating well, and staying up all night and hating myself, and like binge watching TV to just shut up my brain because I'm behind on the deadline. This is the me that I have been, right? Right. That actually doesn't foster my curiosity or my creativity. And it's actually when I'm in conversation with people, or writing things just to get something down about, you know, something that I've taken in and absorbed, or thinking about an article that I read, or, you know, that this stuff that's separate from what is the quality of the work that I'm making, that actually ends up fostering the joy and the creativity, and that it can't be separated from it.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's where we're wrapping it.
Yeah.
I don't think we're getting better eye out of this. I think we just peaked.
I think we did just peak.
I don't think she's peaked yet. I think there's a lot more that we're going to be seeing very, very soon.
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to say about this upcoming album or any upcoming projects before we let you go?
Wow. Well, I would just say, follow me on Spotify.
Yeah.
We'll share all your stuff on our
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think all to be determined. But
Awesome. This has been Aziz, many hyphenates. We'll write them out because I can't say them all at
I was
this
gonna say you
moment.
should send us an email of the exact
just
what your full name is, just so we can have it for reference.
Yes. And send us every type of artist you think you are.
Oh, wow.
And we will, and you know what? We might edit it. We'll be like, no, she's not a painter. We're cutting that one out of the big group. But truly, a beautiful person. It's been, for me, I was so excited to have you on because we trained together. I don't know, it was kind of semi-mentioned at the Esper Studio, and one of the truly the more creative people that I've ever met in my life. And just happy to see you again. It's been way too long.
It's been way too long, but you're coming back here soon.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for coming. Well, that was delightful. Thanks for listening.
Delightful. Absolutely lovely.
The best part about these interviews for me is that, especially with people that I have not had the chance to meet until these interviews, I love coaxing all these words of wisdom out from them. Just by the nature of the conversation. Because, I think, only really one of I feel like from my perspective, I mean, you've scheduled more of these interviews than I did, but only one person's ever reached out, be like, what's your vibe? Like, what are we going to talk about? We give them a basic, like, oh, you got this thing coming up. We'll obviously talk about that. But, I feel like Aya was just kind of like, I don't know what's going on, but she was open
down
to anything. She was down, and she was able to just give us these beautiful sound bites that are just amazing to work with.
And what I kind of I'm gonna toot our horn real quick, which sorry guys, it's gonna be loud. But I have gotten a couple of messages where it's like they didn't entirely realize what wisdom they could give us, right? Until we talked, and not all of it was on the topic of what we wanted to get to or what we wanted to talk about, right? But it's in there, especially with these people, with those Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, right? Where they have these wisdoms inside of them, right? Based on all of this work and experience that they've gone through. And what I hope is, right, it's beneficial to hear, but I also hope it's like, even like, the people we're talking to, that'd be really cool if it was beneficial for them to hear them say it. If these things that kind of, come up in this conversation, these ideas, are something that they can go, oh, okay, maybe this is what I've been, working on, and not even realize what I was working on, Right. I don't know. It'd be cool. And I like that. It's been really nice hearing back from people after these ones too. So,
but yeah, same ordeal, guys. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment, email us. We still haven't gotten emails from anybody yet, but that's okay, I guess.
Hey, all you French listeners out there, email us. You can do it in whatever language you want. We might not speak it.
I know how to say hi, how are you?
I know how to press Google Translate.
There you go.
And copy and paste, man. I'll pop that whole thing in there.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.